All right, Folio Games with my boy AJ at the Game Goblins. Two-player Tuesdays. We're gonna play some Sorcery Contested Realm. AJ hasn't played yet. I haven't played yet, but I've learned the rules, and we're gonna learn them here today. So we've got our at least 20 card Atlas, aka the site deck, which is basically your lands in Magic. And the sites, you can bring out a site any turn. By once a turn, you can tap your avatar to either draw a site to your hand or to play a site that's already in your hand. Now the first site has to be played right under your avatar. Now any other consecutive sites can get played adjacent to that site wherever your avatar is. Okay. Now we've got our main deck, aka our spell book. So this has to be 40 cards at least, and we'll shuffle, of course, shuffle both decks. And the site book, the spell book consists of spells, aura, relics, which are just artifacts in Magic, and minions, which are the creatures. And yeah, pretty much that. And then our avatars, as we can see, they've got the power of tap, play, or draw a site. My wind avatar has the power of once on your turn. If you're on a wind site, you may fly to a nearby site. What's AJ's?
Okay, mine is a tap, discard a fire site, and I may move one step and cast fire bolts for free.
Nice. Cool. So I'm just assuming he has a bunch of fire bolts in his deck, but we'll see in a second.
I'm guessing it's burned.
Oh
somewhere.
Yeah, some a little bit burned. Okay, so we've got 4 elements in the game: earth, fire, wind, water. And of course we're playing with the fire and the wind decks. Okay, so how to win? Pretty much our avatars have 20 health, 20 life. When you bring your opponent to 0 life, that's when you bring them to death's door. Death's door is when they're at 0 life, and then for the rest of the turn, they are immune to damage. But at that point, they can no longer heal life at all. When you strike them with 1 more damage, then they will lose the game. So you bring them to death's door when they're at 0 health. Then they're immune to damage for the rest of the turn. Then the next turn you can hit them for 1 damage. Then they lose the game. The alternate condition to lose the game is when either of the decks are depleted, and then you go to draw a card from an empty deck and you can't. You actually lose the game at that point. 2.
You go over the death's door thing, so I'm going to get 20 down to 0, go to death's door, and then attack again.
Yep. Yep. Once you're like attacked for any damage, 1 damage, then you die.
And how do you go from death's door again?
Once you're at death's door, you're just basically stuck there. But for the rest of the turn, you're immune to damage.
All right. Yeah.
Then at the end of the turn, whenever you get hit again, you die for real that time.
I'm good.
Okay. 5x4 grid. The discard pile is shared by both decks, so both decks share the same discard pile. Your hand, there's no maximum hand size. Yep, so to set up the game, you place your avatars in the middle square closest to you. And then determine first player. We can play paper, rock, scissors.
You can go first, because
I'll go first, that'll work.
I can see you.
Okay, shuffle decks, we already did that. Draw initial hand, which is each player draws 3 cards from their atlas and 3 cards from their spell book. And then if players are not satisfied with their initial hand, they may take a mulligan. The mulligan is kind of complicated, but pretty much it's if the first player, which will be me, if I want to take a mulligan, then the second player can actually look at the top card of their spell book, and they can decide to keep it on top or put it on bottom, and then I would take my mulligan. Then if the second player wants to take a mulligan, I can do the same thing by looking at the top card of my spell book and putting it on the top of the bottom, then taking my mulligan. Then they would take their mulligan. Mulligan is when you put your cards back in your deck, reshuffle them, and draw a new hand.
Do you have to do both of them or just the one?
Both of them. Both of them. Well, I mean, yeah, both of them. Both of them. Okay, so avatars, they are spellcasters. They can cast spells. Some minions are also spellcasters, meaning that they can cast spells. To cast a spell, you would tap whatever it is that's casting the spell. Okay, sites have powers on them. So every site provides a mana. Okay, now as you cast spells and cast minions, you will actually deplete your mana for the turn, but it comes back when your turn starts and then you refresh all your cards. So there's also a thing called the elemental threshold. Whenever you see one of these little symbols in the bottom right, one of the 4 elemental symbols, then that means that you get that much elemental threshold. There's 2 resources in the game, which are the mana and the sites. Now, every site provides mana, but the elemental threshold, some sites don't provide elemental threshold, but most of them do. And then a lot of the cards that you cast will require you to have some kind of elemental threshold. Like say this Peregrine Apparition costs 3 mana and 2 wind elemental threshold. So you've got to have both the mana to pay for it and the elemental threshold. Simple enough. Alright, just gonna make sure this joint is recording, still going, cool. Alright, and then that is the avatars, that's the sites. And then auras, they're basically, if you come from other games, those are what you call field spells or enchantments. So the auras, they provide a continuous effect and they remain in play. Now magic, those are what you call like sorceries in other games, and they never enter the battlefield, which the battlefield in this game is actually called the realm. Sorcery contested realms. Okay, and there are also special kinds of magics, which are quick type magics, which basically are instant spells. Okay, then we've got minions, which are your creatures, and they have summoning sickness, which means that they there's no limit to the number of minions that can occupy the same site. Sites are the site decks. Now, every square on the grid, that's called a location. Now, sites without anything on them, they're called a void. You basically mostly have to always step on a site in order to traverse the board. Okay. So minion summoning sickness, which means when they're first played, they usually have summoning sickness unless they have the keyword haste. Okay, now a minion can't move, attack, or use a tap ability on the turn that it's summoned. So it needs to be under the player's control at the start of their turn to do so. But a couple of things that a minion can do is they can pick up a relic, drop a relic, or block an attack the turn that it comes into play. Okay, then we go into the relic cards. Relics are basically your artifacts in other games. So relics, a relic is a player must conjure a relic on a site they control, or any site occupied by their avatar or minion. When a player conjures a relic, they may have that relic come into play as born by their avatar or minion on the same turn. A relic that is not born by an avatar or minion is considered an abandoned relic. Only abandoned relics can be picked up, but relic minions cannot be picked up. There's a little more to that, but we're going to gloss over that for now. Okay, so we'll go into the turn summary, which is on the start phase. You're going to untap your stuff, untap your avatars, minions, and relics. Then you do the draw step, draw a card from either your atlas or your spell book, either one you pick. But if you're the first player, you skip that first turn, first draw, you skip that. Okay, and then of course at the start of turn, trigger is trigger, and then you go into your main phase, which you can do this in any order. You can cast spells, you can activate abilities, you can interact with relics, you can move with the minion, you can attack with the minion, and then we go into the end phase, which in the end phase, you do your rest up, you remove the damage from all your minions. We don't have to have tokens, we just kind of got to remember. And maybe people will use tokens, not quite sure yet. But then we've got the end step where the end until the end of turn triggers trigger. And then you pass the turn to your opponent. Okay, so on the grid, so basically say that my avatar were here, then all of these spaces would be adjacent. Even the site that you're on, that is also adjacent. So all of the north, south, east, west, the cardinal directions are adjacent. So cardinal means north, south, east, or west.
Minions can attack adjacent or only on their space?
Minions can usually attack adjacent and on their space. Okay. Now, we'll just read all of that. And then nearby consists of pretty much, it includes adjacent and the diagonals. So pretty much the whole thing that's nearby. Okay. Okay. And to perform an action, a card would usually have to tap, which is turn it 90 degrees. When it calls to untap, that's when you put it vertically aligned up and down. Okay, we already went through the mana and threshold. Every site provides a mana. Most sites provide elemental threshold.
Alright, sites have health?
Sites do have health. Well, sites don't have health. Not exactly sure about that, but I know when you attack a site, when an undefended site is attacked, say you were to attack my site right here, then you would deal, your avatar has a 1 attack right there, no defense, but 1 attack. So when your avatar would attack my site for 1 damage, I would take the damage as the avatar. There are some ways to get rid of sites. Now, 1 damage to the site, I don't think that does it, but some ways you can get rid of sites. But what I do know for sure is that 1 damage to an undefended site goes to the defender's life total.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't want to defend.
Oh, yeah.
I guess you defend them having 6 there.
Yep, you have minions there to defend or your avatar to defend there. That'll do it. Okay, then we've got casting spells. A player may spend mana to play a spell from their hand using a spellcaster they control as the source of spellcasting. They may summon a minion, conjure a relic, cast mana, cast magic, or conjure an aura. Okay, activating abilities. Sometimes you have to tap a card, pay life, spend mana, or discard cards to activate abilities. Tap abilities, tap to activate them. Interacting with relics. A player may tap their avatar or minion to pick up an abandoned relic on the same site. When picked up, a relic is placed on the avatar or minion bearing it. Relic minions can't be picked up. A player may tap their avatar or minion to drop a relic it is bearing. When a minion dies, it automatically drops any relics it's bearing. When dropped, the relic is placed untapped on the site, occupied by the minion that was bearing it. Okay, moving. A player may tap their avatar or minion to move it 1 step from the site it's on or adjacent site. Minions and avatars can't move or be moved to a location in the void. That's the void with no site on it. When a player moves their avatar or minion, they may choose to combine this movement with an attack action or relic interaction. The avatar or minion can only perform an attack or interact with the relic at the end of its movement action. So you move once, you can attack. You move once, you can pick up a relic or put down a relic. Okay?
You tap to attack and tap to pick up relics. So you can do that.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, attacking. In combat, avatars and minions deal damage equal to their power. If a minion is dealt damage equal to or higher than its power, it dies. Damage dealt to a minion persists within a turn, but it resets at the end of the turn. Damage dealt to avatars, however, persists throughout the game. A player may tap their avatar or minion to perform an attack against an enemy avatar or minion on the same site. If there are multiple valid targets on that site, the player who controls the attacker chooses which target to attack. The minion in combat The minions in combat deal damage to each other equal to their power. A player may tap their avatar or minion to perform an attack against an undefended site controlled by their opponent. A site is considered undefended if the player that controls that site does not have an avatar or minion there, or if no other legal target for the attack. Attacks against undefended sites deal indirect damage to the avatar whose player controls the site. Blocking. This is a reaction. At any point during any player's main phase, a player may tap a minion or avatar they control to block an attack against an avatar or minion on an adjacent site. So yeah, so you can block adjacent too. Whenever you block, you're going to move to the attacker's site. Okay, but I'll read that. If the blocker is not on the same site as the attacked avatar or minion, it first moves to that site and then blocks. The avatar or minion that was initially attacked does not deal damage and does not take damage. A player may tap multiple minions and an avatar to block. If a minion or avatar gets blocked by one or more minions, the controller of the attacking minion chooses the order in which the damage is dealt to the blockers. Minions can block at any time after they are summoned. The summoning sickness does not apply, so attacks against a site can't be blocked unless otherwise stated. Okay, we've got some examples. We've got card abilities, passive abilities, triggered abilities, activated abilities. We basically already went over those. And then we've got a lot of keywords. I'll gloss over the keywords before we get into the game.
One question to activate the site, so like if a site has any ability. The Genesis.
Genesis is basically your into the battlefield. So Genesis is as soon as it comes into play, you get the Genesis effect. Sometimes they'll have an elemental threshold to them, but most of the time not. Okay, so airborne. So airborne means if a minion is, so this means the minion can move to nearby locations, and every square is a location. And so basically what the airborne means is that airborne things, they can fly even throughout the void. So, and then, yep, and then also airborne can also attack airborne minions. And if, yeah, okay, burrowing is putting a guy under a site. Now, okay, we'll just read it though. Okay, the minion may be summoned burrowed under a non-water site. It may be tapped to burrow under a non-water site it is on, or to unburrow onto that site. It may be tapped to unburrow onto the site and attack, or block against the site or allied avatar or minion. It can interact with burrowed relics. Okay, Genesis, ETB. Haste is the minion can move, attack, and use tap abilities right away when summoned. And immobile, this minion can't move. And indestructible, this card can't be destroyed. Iron Skin, this minion has to take twice its power and damage to die. Lethal, any amount of damage this card deals to a minion is enough to kill it. Movement plus X, normally you can move one square, but plus X is plus whatever. One plus whatever. Moves freely. This means it can move through multiple different locations in one move. So say that I have a bunch of wind sites that are contiguous. So these wind sites are contiguous. So if I have moved freely through wind, I could, as one move action, I could move all the way here if I wanted to. Move freely through wind. If I had moved freely through wind with this guy. Okay, and range plus X. So normally the range would be one square away, but range plus X might be range plus 3, so bow. Okay, spellcaster, we've already went over that. So some minions have spellcaster, but all avatars have spellcaster. Splash damage, this card damages everything above ground on the same site. The damage is not dealt to the site. A minion with splash damage does not deal damage to itself when attacking, and if it attacks an undefended site, it deals damage as if it did not have splash damage. Stealth. The minion can't be targeted by an opponent's cards or attacked. This minion loses stealth if it attacks, blocks, deals damage, or activates an ability. If an enemy minion or avatar attacks a site where a player has a minion with stealth, they may tap their minion to block the attack or let it go through to the site instead. A stealthy minion can still move and pick up relics without losing stealth, and its controller can target it with spells and abilities. Submerged is basically burrow, but with water. Okay, This minion can be submerged under a water site if it has submerged, and it may be tapped to submerge under a water site. Okay, Voidwalk is basically you can walk into the void if you have Voidwalk. Element bound is like say that this guy has Windbound. Say the Grandmaster Wizard has Windbound. It can only exist on wind sites. Once it leaves a wind site, it's going to basically die. Okay. Yeah. And that's mostly the that's most of the keywords I'm gonna go over. A little bit more than we'll be ready to play. Altered is if a card says that it can be altered, that means its types, subtypes, and effects can't be changed, but it can still be moved or destroyed. Body of water is like I said, this is one contiguous body of water right here because they all connect adjacently. But this one right here, this will be a whole different body of water because it's not adjacent, it's diagonal. A whole different body of water. I mean, whole different body of wind. Okay. Control and ownership. Okay, so I own the card right now. You brought the fire card, so you own the fire cards now. But you control. Say that I took control of one of your fire cards. I'm just a controller, but you're still the owner. Sometimes the words on the damage grid. Some cards have these crazy grids. A lot of fire cards have them. Yep. Pull out a card with the grid on it. Okay, I got one right here. Never mind. Okay, so this is the damage grid. So it'll affect basically the tiles that you set as the center. That'll be what the damage grid starts from the center. Okay, movement. Yeah, sometimes there is forcible movement, sometimes there's ground movement, side movement, traverse, mulligan. We did that. Range of effects: stronger and weaker, stronger, more power than, weaker, less power than. Transform, the void, under a site, submerge. Yeah, we did all that. All right, so we're ready to play. Any questions?
You guys answered.
I'll reshuffle. Alright, so said I was going first, so...
The question is, spellcaster is I can cast my spells from a spellcaster.
Yep. From the site that they're on, you can cast from that point.
An avatar or a spellcaster.
Yep.
Alright.
Okay, drawing 3. I'm drawing 3. Okay, for my first turn, I'm gonna play a site. I'll tap my Avatar of Wind to play a site.
Just play underneath it.
Yep, play underneath the Avatar and then adjacent to where the Avatar is, I believe. Okay, I'll play the Observatory, which the Observatory has a Genesis, which is as soon as it enters the realm, I get to look at the top 3 spellbook cards and put them back in any order. So I'll use that Genesis. And then this site also provides me with the Wind Elemental Threshold right there. So I'll play it under my Avatar, and then I'll do the Genesis, look at the top 3 spellbook cards, and put them back into play in any order. This is my spellbook, my main deck. So to be smart, I'll basically put my low drop up top, then my middle drop there, then I'll put my high drop, the most costly, on the bottom. Okay, and then with that, I have 1 mana for the turn because I've got this I haven't used, and I have nothing that costs 1 mana right now, so I will pass my turn to AJ.
Alright, I will tap and then draw from a single deck.
Yep, tap it though.
Okay, the draw you have to tap.
Oh, no. My bad. You get to draw first. You can choose either way to draw.
I'm going to tap to play. Let's put a desert underneath. The Genesis effect does not come into effect
because why not?
It attacks. It deals the damage to minions or other sites.
Okay,
there's no
because
minions
there's nothing there. Okay. Cool. All right. I will draw from my because the first turn I didn't draw because I was the first player. So oh yeah. I will stand. Yep, gotta stand. Stand, ready, everything, and then I'll draw from my spell book, and then I will go ahead and tap my avatar, and I will play another sight. And you've always got to tell your opponent how many spellbook cards you have versus how many sights you have. You got to tell the number. You don't have to tell what's in your hand, but you got to tell them like, hey, I've got 3 sights and 5 spellbook cards. That's open information. And each player's discard is also open information.
And this game's available on Kickstarter right now.
Yep, it's on Kickstarter right now. I believe there's 13 days left on the Kickstarter, and they've got like 2,100,000 right now.
That's
Biggest TCG Kickstarter ever, if I'm not mistaken. I'll play Bottomless Pit right here. Yeah, so this one has no ETB, and it also does not have an elemental threshold, which that kind of sucks, but it's okay. So only airborne minions can traverse this site. In that case, I think I'm going to play this guy here because I don't think fire has a lot of airborne.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm playing that right there, and so you guys can see it. You know, with that, I've got 2 mana available to me right now because I've got 2 sites, so I can actually play a guy. Yep. So unfortunately, I've only got 1 elemental threshold because this bottomless pit does not provide an elemental threshold. So I will play my Midnight Rogue, which costs 2 mana, which I've got 2 mana. I'm gonna spend both of them to play this Midnight Rogue, and then with the 1 elemental threshold I have for my observatory, I can actually play the Midnight Rogue on the site with my avatar. And then since it's got Summoning Sickness, it comes in and it really can't do anything, but I'll go ahead and pass the turn to AJ.
All right. I will stand on tap, and then I will draw.
Yeah, one of the ones that people tend to just go, I don't care.
No, I knew it was one of the jobs that now.
All right. I'm going to put tap and play a site. That'd be Red Desert. And in Genesis pack, it does 1 damage to minions and sites adjacent.
Nice.
So,
Okay, so yep, so the site would actually, let me get out some dice. Should have thought of this earlier. But
for health.
yep. Oh yeah, he just got the life counter right there.
So you take a damage.
Yep, so I'll take a damage. So what AJ did was he Genesis'd out. This desert deals 1 damage to a nearby minion or site, which I've got a site right there. And then when something hits my site, that indirect damage actually hits me as the avatar. So I would go down from 20 to 19 health. Right.
And then I am going to play a minion. I have 2 mana, and I also have 2 triangles.
Okay.
And I'm going to play rattlesnakes, burrow underneath.
Nice. So he could either choose to play it up top or on the bottom, I believe.
Yep.
But yep, he's playing it on the bottom. And the rattlesnakes cost 2 with 2 elemental threshold, fire, and they have 1 attack and 1 defense.
And that'd be my turn.
And are they lethal?
They are lethal.
They are lethal, so any damage that those deal to my minions would kill them. Unless they have indestructible for some reason, but usually not. Alright, so starting my turn, I will choose to draw a card. I'm going to go ahead and draw another spellbook card. Okay. Then I'm going to ready my stuff. Oh my gosh. And then I'm going to play... See, I messed up. I should have drawn a site, but I was getting greedy, so I messed up.
How you doing?
Oh man, okay, this is actually sick. Okay, this is kind of working out in my favor. Okay, so I'm gonna play. So I'm gonna tap my Avatar of Wind, and I'm gonna play the Lone Tower. The Lone Tower has a Genesis, which is an enter the battlefield trigger to gain 1 mana until the end of the turn. So, and it provides a wind elemental threshold. So I will play that adjacent to my Avatar. I'll play it right here. And then now I have 3 mana for the turn, plus 1, because I gained 1 until the end of the turn. So now I've got 4, I ramped a little bit this turn. So I've got 4 mana, and then I've got 2 wind threshold, which I believe is just enough to play Ball Lightning. It costs 4 mana and 2 wind threshold. And your spellcaster launches this ball in a cardinal direction. Cardinal direction is north, south, east, or west. And your spellcaster launches this ball in a cardinal direction, and it deals 6 damage to the first avatar or minion it hits. Then excess damage carries on to whatever it hits next here on the following sites.
Snake is borrowed. So
Oh, it's burrowed. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Yours.
it'll just hit my avatar.
Yep, it hits the avatar because it hits the red desert site, which hitting the site is basically just like hitting the avatar if it's undefended. Now,
I can defend all of this.
yes. So in this case, AJ has the rattlesnakes burrowed. He could actually, in response to me sending out this spell, he could actually unburrow to soak up one of those damages. I don't think he wants to do that anyway, because the excess damage rolls over and hits his site.
Well, then my avatar will take 2 damage because it hit the site and.
So if I hit you for 6, which it hits for 6 damage, then the rattlesnakes would actually soak up 1 damage. Then the excess 5 would hit the site, which would basically be the same thing as saying that it hits the avatar.
So it hit the avatar for 6 or hit for 5 and kill my snake.
Yeah,
So-
probably not smart.
So I'm
either.
just going to take 6 damage from my avatar.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but you can read it too.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, pretty sick. Because I could cheat it out a little early. Why that happened. Put this in the discard now. Because spells never enter the battlefield. And pretty much I've depleted my resources this turn, and I will pass turn.
Man, it's nice having a blocker there, isn't it?
Oh yeah. The bottomless pit came in very handy.
Otherwise, I could paste, move, attack.
Oh yeah, that would be sick.
I'm going to untap. And adjacent is not like this way, it's only this way.
Yep, only cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. Plus the same site that they're on, and nearby is all that, including and diagonal.
Okay.
Something like that.
I'm going to play.
No, you don't say you're the ghost.
Although it's out of the
But the villagers are gonna know you're the ghost, but the royal is not.
See, I wasn't even thinking I should have moved this midnight road, but I can't move it there anyway, so I might as well stay
Oh
here.
yeah. When do you go again? Or just
No, because only airborne minions can traverse this site.
I guess I tap this to play.
Yeah, pretty much. And all that is my grandmother's, like, not.
And just to say it again, since I've got one, stealth means that minions can't be stealth. The minion can't be attacked by opponent's cards or attacked. This minion loses stealth if it attacks, blocks, deals damage, or activates abilities.
At first it was pussy.
Yeah, stealth. I think it loses stealth just for the turn, I believe. Let's see.
I play Stonehenge.
Not so much. He now owns.
Minions there have spellcaster.
I think you've got to play the site adjacent to your avatar because Well, I mean, let me make sure about that. Sight. Okay, sights represent existing locations in the room. They are the only type in the card's atlas and usually played when a player activates his avatar's ability. A sight must be placed. A sight must either be placed directly under a player's own avatar if it's in the void, or adjacent to another sight that players control. Yeah, so you're good playing it there. One sight per location. Yep. And, yep. Yep, that's it.
I'm playing it there actually. And then
I now have
for 3,
I know we carried the big one.
I will play a.
I want variety. I make it halfway through it and then go.
I'm playing a rainbow. For 2, I'm just gonna play a Hurricane Nomads thing. Has fire immunity and movement +1.
Nice.
And it also has spellcaster while it's on hand.
While it's on that site.
When it's on Stonehenge.
Okay, nice.
That will be my avatar's tapped.
Man, let me see. But the only thing I think about that is I think you have to cast that adjacent to your avatar.
All minions?
Let me see. Every avatar is a spellcaster, which means that each player can cast spells and use their avatar as a source of spellcasting. Every avatar has an activated ability. If an so avatars can perform actions just like minions can, but they are not minions. They develop sight, summon minions. Yeah, so avatars actually summon the minion, so you've got to summon adjacent to it.
Oh, okay. So,
Or on the same site.
alright, it'll be here.
Okay.
And then it doesn't have haste, so
Yeah, I could be wrong about that. It could be the same site or it could be adjacent. But I think AJ will look for it and then we'll look and then we'll see.
play like this for now.
Yeah, cool. All right, and you pass turn, right?
I can't do anything else. I have 1 20 mana, but I don't think it's been on.
Cool. All right. Right. So this turn I'm kind of forced into drawing a site, so I will
Says
ready my
a
guys.
minion, maybe I must summon minions to a site they control.
Okay.
I don't think it said anything though.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. Summon to a site you control. Yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna draw a site because I'm low on sites now.
Enjoy those kind of games. Yeah, no. It's better than more or less not because Dark Souls is
And a minion may be used to pick up a relic or drop a relic on the turn. So there's nothing to pick up.
Oh yeah.
That's something I need.
And they can block the turn they're summoned to.
in Dark Souls, you jump by a creature. You're stuck in this patch. You don't and the monster whereas Elden Ring, there's a monster you don't want to fight that. It's a world, so I can just go around.
Okay.
I'm gonna just play this thing.
And had these two
Alright, I'm gonna play Dark Tower. So I'm thinking, should I play it here or should I play it here? I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play it here because these Romalema Ding Dong Nomads, they have movement +1, so I'm thinking he can sneak up on me faster, so I'll go this way. And then I'll tap my avatar to play a site right there. So that also has the Genesis, gain 1 mana until end of turn, and provides me with a win threshold. So now I'm up to a 3 win threshold and 5 mana for the turn. So with that 5 mana, I will actually cast the I'll actually cast the Spectral Stalker for 2 mana and 2 win threshold. It's a 3 attack, 3 defense with Voidwalk. Voidwalk, which means that I can walk straight through the void. Sneaky son of a gun right there. Alright, and with that, I have another card I can play, but is it really great right now? I don't think it's very great right now. I will pass the turn. Well, go ahead and tap my Midnight Rogue and move it over to this site. And then with that, I could have attacked, but there's nothing to attack. That's an enemy. And I could have picked up a relic, but there's no relic to pick up. So at that point, I will pass the turn.
Stand up to attack. Let's have this to play this right here. Which gives me a sight. It also has an ability, I think I can sacrifice it for 3. First I'm going to activate a minion first, and then I'm going to attack. The minion has movement +1, so he's going to move and then attack adjacent to your avatar. For 3.
3. Son of a gun. Alright, 3 damage. Taking 3. So it takes me down to 16.
Alright, and then I'm going to activate this. I get to sacrifice it.
Okay.
Because I only read the minions have something serious.
Yeah.
It uses its own sight and 2 others here and here to sacrifice it, and then it does 3 splash damage to nearby sites.
Okay. So, defining splash damage, this card deals damage to everything above ground on the same site. This damage is not dealt to the site. A minion with splash damage does not deal damage to itself when attacking, and if it attacks an undefended site, it deals damage as if it did not have splash damage.
Alright, well, I'm not gonna, because I thought splash damage dealt to the site itself.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at the damage grid if it damages multiple locations / squares.
And then I have not spent any mana or anything. I am going to have 4 to spend. And I'm going to find that. I'm going to play Ogre Goons here for 3. And then I have one more, just have 4 mana to spend. And I'm going to summon this guy for 1 here. And then it's 2, only 2 sites, whatever, and I have 3. And he has Airborne and Voidwalk.
Okay. Will o' the Wisp with 1/1, 1 drop, Airborne, and Voidwalk.
Oh, yeah. After combat, it may teleport to a nearby location.
Nice. Cool. Alright, and then with that, you pass turn?
Yep.
Okay. I'll draw a card from my...
And he washes, or she washes.
Sorry, I'm coming at you hard.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, this is a big decision right here. Do I get a sight or do I get a spellbook card? Let's get a sight.
And this is your only minion?
And screw that, let's get a spellbook card. I got 2.
2 minions, right?
2. Let me get a spellbook card. I forgot this one. I should have known this one. Okay. Still got a sight. Alright,
Yeah, so coming up.
oh yeah.
thing about blue decks. You gotta know your deck thoroughly to really play them.
Yeah, all that control. All right, ready, my guys?
That's what kind of makes it fun.
Yep. Well, I mean, really, this one is really like a white deck, I guess, because it's wind. But the blue one would be the water.
Oh, maybe.
But I mean, maybe it's a mixture.
Yeah, who knows? It's fun in new games.
No,
I kind of hope they go away from. Right now, red is aggro.
yeah,
Red is aggro and burn. I was like, that makes sense.
makes sense.
You're guessing white might have some life steal.
Yeah, man, can't knock the classics. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna.
Where y'all play? Which card game you playing?
We playing that Sorcery Contested Realm. That Kickstarter game.
Oh, the Kickstarter game.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Oh yeah. Yes, I ready this guy, and we're gonna Voidwalk over here. One step.
You only tap to these attacking.
You know what? I got nothing else. You gotta tap them to move.
Okay.
Then you can combine it with an attack or a relic interaction. Okay. Actually, since I've got nothing else too much to do, I'm gonna go ahead and spend 3 and a wind element threshold to play Waypoint Portal, which means that 2 locations are adjacent for movement until end of turn. Then I get to draw a spell because I'm in dire need of some more cards. So I'm gonna spend 3 mana, which I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I got 1 mana floating right now, 1 mana left, and then I'll draw a spell. Okay, and then I'll go 2 locations are adjacent for movement until end of turn. 2 locations are adjacent for movement. Do you think I can go like this location and this location are adjacent?
Is it a spell?
Oh, right here.
Alright, 2 locations are adjacent for movement.
That sounds like what it is. Yeah. All right,
So
so
you can use it to attack or move, I guess.
yeah, so I'm gonna basically teleport over here. Teleport over here. Oh, adjacent. Okay. Well, yeah. I guess they're just adjacent, so I'll just teleport over here.
You're adjacent for your turn. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna adjacent, teleport all the way over to AJ's avatar, and then I'm gonna.
Has this guy tapped or not?
This guy's not.
Then he can actually attack because they're adjacent. So you can attack with him from staying there, and then you move this guy over here. Or you can attack from adjacent space because they're adjacent.
Well, for movement, they're just
Oh,
adjacent
just
for
for movement.
movement.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess I'll move them both over there. Matter of fact, all right.
That's scary.
That seems pretty OP, but I guess so.
You move them both and attacking with both. So that's 5. That's 5 damage coming at me.
Yep. We got a. Well, no, just Yep, 5 because 3 is attacking and a 2 is attacking.
All right.
That seemed very OP. Do we think that's the way it's supposed to be?
I don't know.
2 locations are adjacent for movement until the end of turn. So I guess just what I have on board is what I can move over there.
Yeah, they're stuck there now.
Yeah. They're pretty much stuck there now.
All right.
Yep. And then I've got 1 mana left, but I can't do anything with that, so I will. I've tapped you to play to draw a card yet, so I'll pass.
All right. I stand. I'm gonna put these guys to the side over here, so that's me. Cool. Side now for my hand. I stand, and then I am going to draw.
Yeah, because I mean, clearly, because the art kind of defines it, it's basically a teleportation portal. We can see it. So
So the splash damage is damage to everything on its face. Or
splash damage. Oh, we'll read it again.
because if it's on the grid, then it does. There's like 1 instance of damage there, and then
Yep. The grid.
splash again.
But splash damage is just on the site. But if it has the damage grid, then it will hit. Then it'll hit adjacent locations too. On the grid.
So I'm just saying, if I did 5 damage here, with it would hit both of these guys.
Yeah, but hit both of those. Yep.
Yeah, but I have to distribute the 5 damage evenly between the 2, or just both of them take 5.
Let's read it out loud.
This card damages everything above ground on the site, so I guess it does 5 damage to everything on the site.
Sounds like it,
Alright. I mean, I would be killing my wisp and my snake unless I moved it.
Okay.
Because it's a splash.
Yep, I mean, but you could move them first, then play the card.
Yeah. So I was thinking. Alright, well, I am going to.
But it would hit your avatar too, though.
Unless it says it doesn't affect the spell. Alright. I'm going to first. I'm going to unburrow and attack. And deal lethal damage to the 3. What is stealth? Is it currently stealth even though I moved and attacked, or?
Yeah, stealth. Stealth. This minion can't be targeted by an opponent's cards or attack. This minion loses stealth if it attacks, blocks, deals damage, or activates an ability.
So it attacks, so it lost stealth.
Well, I think it's for the turn.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't make sense because there'd be no way for me to ever attack them because if they lost stealth.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
believe it comes in stealth and then they can't be attacked until that's turn. Okay.
That makes sense.
Alright, well, I am going to unburrow and attack rattlesnakes.
Everyone, 5 seconds left to talk.
He's going to attack the. Let's go ahead and attack your Voidwalk there, killing him with rattlesnakes. So lethal.
Okay.
And I'm going to.
And then I would hit back with the.
He's going to die by my fireball anyway, so.
Okay.
I guess he hits back.
Yeah, he hits back with 3.
Rattlesnake is going. This is going to move and has airborne, so it can step here and attack your avatar for 1.
Okay, take the 1.
And then Ogre is going to move and attack for 4. Gets the avatar. It has to attack minions that are available, but there's no. It can't possibly attack a minion.
Take 4. Go to 11.
Yes. And then
One of the things about
Nomad's is going to move and attack your. Attack him.
Okay. 3. 1, 8.
Says they only wanted that.
No, he's not
I'm at 9.
Everyone, 5 seconds left. 10 seconds. He's spinning our time. Please stop.
And a minion's heal, right?
That's not fair. He's talking to you.
Yep, between turns. Well, at the start of your turn, I believe.
Everyone, if you left another round.
Not between turns, I think.
I'm going to move my avatar
No, that's not happening.
and then attack with a spell from my avatar. I'm spending 4 mana. I'm going to shoot a firebolt at your 2 away. The spellcaster launches a fireball that travels in final directions from the spellcaster explodes and hits an enemy, dealing splash damage. It's fire, so fire immunity, he's immune. So it's going to be centered here, because it's 2 away, and it's going to deal 5 damage to this. It's going to deal 2 damage to him, but he has 4 health. But the Will-O-Wisp is going to die.
Okay.
But you take 5 damage.
Wake up.
It cost me all 4 of my mana. This guy's still here.
Open your eyes.
I'm trying to see now if that splash damage will hit these sites and take me out. But let's see.
Splash damage does not affect sites, it only affects minions.
Okay, splash only affects minions and avatars. Okay, cool.
Otherwise, I think all spells are.
Yeah. Okay. All right. With that, that's all you got for now.
That's all my mana spent.
Cool. All right.
He tapped when he moved one, right? He moved one and attacked one.
Yeah.
No, he does not attack. Lethal can't damage the doesn't matter if that attacks.
Well, I mean, that does have a 1 attack.
But he has 2 health. So
Okay. Yeah.
oh, yeah, no, because you're at the heal at the start of your turn.
Yeah. All right. I'll ready my stuff. I'll draw.
You did. How did you know that? Well, I that's hilarious. Thanks for giving us that.
Yeah, I thought about it. Did it wrong. I should have moved from here to attack after I did the fireball. But I was thinking of just using it on these 2 guys. But then like 5 damage here or 5 damage there.
Yeah, decisions. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and have to get a
Claim to better than
site. Okay, a lot of these have that mana ramp. So I drew a Gothic Tower with a Genesis, gain 1 mana for the turn. I'll place that site. Wish that was a spellcaster so I could start summoning guys there, but it's not though. So therefore I'll play that here. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the turn.
A couple of them.
With that, I'll play.
And for some reason,
I'll play Nimbus Djinn on this bottomless pit, which it has airborne, so that's legal. It's a 6 mana cost with a 2 win threshold, 3 power, and airborne and spellcaster. And I can discard a spell to deal 3 damage to a nearby avatar or minion, which I wish that guy had haste, because then I would
try for lethal. Well, it would be 1 away.
Yep. And then with that, I'm pretty sure since I had to do this, I couldn't have moved out of the way of these guys. So I think that's game because
I mean, they got +1 movement. There's no way you could escape him.
Yep.
I mean, and for fun, I'm just gonna finish you off with a. I guess you deal me. Let's just deal me down to 3.
Yep.
Some 6.
Okay.
So it's at 9, and then I untap, and then I'm going to finish you off with a minor explosion.
Minor explosion.
From 2 away, I send a minor explosion at you.
Nice.
And finish you off with 3 damage directed to your avatar.
Nice. And that's the game. I couldn't handle the haste, but it was fun.
You know, actually, I didn't play a single thing with haste.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't play anything with haste. You played stuff with movement +1. Yeah.
The movement +1, and then I just kind of like pushed.
Yes. Yep. I thought I could do something with this bottomless pit, but no, sir.
Yeah, I even had 1 airborne for that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, no, the bottomless pit. I was planning. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start marching straight across, but no, I had to go around this way.
Bottomless pit. Yeah.
Like I pretty much go two around it. So it was smart putting it there.
Oh yeah. Just didn't do the trick, but yeah. Let me say, how'd you like it?
I liked it. I like this red deck, and I like it when I win. So
Oh yeah.
I'm sure once I lose once, I'll be salty.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. It's kind of area control and like magic in a good way.
Oh yeah. I even enjoyed the loss. So yeah.
Reminds me a little bit like a Dice Masters.
Oh yeah.
For the movement and attacking. And then,
Good stuff.
but that's not as big grid, which is the problem. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. So we got 2 thumbs up here. Folio Games signing out. First game, Sorcery contested round. Later, Gators.